nurses catch a cold, when nurses cough, I beg your pardon, the nation catches a cold and it ends up definitely in the ICU, because when the people who hold our lives in their hands down their tools, the country definitely trembles, and we saw it this week. And for a full week, Ghana learned the hard way just how fragile our health system is when its backbone, the nurses and midwives, and by extension, the health sector, say enough is enough. At the heart of it all is the conditions of service. And this time, they weren't asking, they were demanding.
When the Minister of Finance approved the condition of service that has already been negotiated,
it was days of chaos, pain, and paralysis. That's what the nationwide strike by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association unleashed on the country's health system.
I'm about review, but 4 months no more.
I came for a review after being told to return in 4 months, but when I arrived, I was informed the nurses are on strike. It's been 4 months, and now that I'm back, there's no nurse available to attend to me, and I'm really worried. I had an appointment today, and my biggest worry is that if I don't receive treatment now, I don't know when I'll get another appointment.
From urban hospitals to rural clinics, patients were left stranded. And why? Nurses demanded what they say they rightfully deserve: a book and research allowance, 1,000 cedis annual uniform support, 180 liters of fuel, and a 13th month salary. But government wouldn't budge.
Our options on the table are two. One, call off the strike, come back, let's say, continue the engagement. That is the first one. The second one is that these conditions of service were signed in May 2024. Now, if it is not budgeted for, our proposal is that let's shift the period of the implementation to January 2026.
Neither side would blink, and the cost, devastating. Morgues overflowed.
Motorists are also receiving more deaths as compared to the usual normal working hours, in which in the event that when the nurses were working, we had normal deaths. People are dying though, but this time around, I think that the death toll is increasing every day.
The strike may now be over, but the question remains: who bears the cost of the damage done? Why must it always take a strike to get attention? From lab workers to physician assistants, then doctors, and now nurses. Is government listening or playing deaf? Maybe now is the time to seriously reconsider the conditions of service for our health workers, or risk watching even more of them leave for greener pastures. This is Ghana Connect on Joy FM 99.7 FM, and tonight we are asking, must it always come to this? Must health workers walk off the job before anyone listens? We'll connect after the break, but definitely send your WhatsApp message to us on 055-1111-997. 055-1111-997. Let's connect after this break. Stay with us.
Day off and you end up looking after the baby while your wife goes off to work. You realize you have no idea how to change a diaper, so you video call your wife.
Hello, darling.
Yeah, hello.
Kojo, is everything all right?
Everything is not all right. I'm not seeing Topo. How do I change a baby's diaper, please?
Kojo. Okay, first, put the diaper.
The video call freezes. While you wait for the internet to catch up, the baby sprouts a fountain and wets the diaper. As you are getting a new one, your wife comes back online.
Kojo, no.
But I have to go and get a new diaper. What must I do next? I beg, quick.
Open the front of the diaper. It's the side that has...
Wow, look. The video freezes again. Abba.
By now, you know where the conversation is going. There's no buffering in real life, so why accept it from your internet connection? Get connected and experience ultra-fast internet to your home, powered by MTN Fiber Broadband. From the Internet Masters.
MTN, everywhere you go. M&C Group is a leading investment holding company with expertise in minerals and food commodity trading, precious minerals refinery, real estate development, and logistics and energy. With individually registered companies, our headquarters is located in Accra, Ghana, with operational offices in Dubai, UAE, Hong Kong, and Guangzhou in China, Johannesburg in South Africa, Virginia in the USA, and Milan, Italy. We connect business markets and drive growth. Trust us to maximize value in every deal. Call us on 0302 551 917 or 0302 551 918 or send us an email mncgroup@mncgroupgh.com. MNC Group, totally reliant.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom. And my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHF, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Brush your teeth every day and night, up and down and all around. Brush it clean and bright. Brush your teeth. Brush with mom and dad. Underneath and in between, brush the germs away.
Pepsodent, cavity protection.
This advert is FDA approved.
Hey, dear Niham Sa. Stay soft concentrate fabric softener. I was such it move. Just send it this way. You hear me? It's now watch. Niham it's now watch. No, be a baby. Someone some demoni in us say. Dear Niham say. Fair quiet. Yes, in Biara Association Ontario. Use stay soft and Niham it's now watch. Nani boss to tap from cry. A fabric softener. A year near say sir. Choose to stay soft. No who's so say no. FDID a garden crack to yatu.
Sasso, si come tonton preko. Sasso, si come tonton preko. Edrana drami ne buseshe. Yeah, hakasia ne malaria. Minya me pone me sasso spray. Every mosquito study run away. Come on, tonton preko. Sasso, mi se come tonton preko. Come on, tonton preko. Sasso, come tonton preko. Nani sham ne die demonstronko.
This advert is FDA approved.
Welcome back to Ghana Connect on Joy FM 99.7 FM. Tonight, we are asking again, must it always come to this? Must health workers walk off the job before anyone listens? Already we know that when they cough, the entire nation catches a cold. Possibly not you, but you, almost every Ghanaian may know somebody who went to the hospital this week and was turned away or couldn't be processed to see a doctor. The doctors were there, the other workers were all around, but certainly it was a big deadlock. We are putting the spotlight on the health workers tonight and asking them whether this is exactly what it would take to get government to listen to their pleas. What is the reality or the brutal honesty that they have to live with every day? What do they have to give every day and now and then to get people leaving their facilities happy. But even before we get there, the man that has all the data, how many people were affected, how many people were living, who are nurses in the country who had to drop their tools and walk off the job. Well, is it a number that we can just deal with or just sack them away and tell them they should get away, that we can do with somebody else? Kofi Ejay is the man that has all the data and joins me in the studio. Kofi, thank you very much for doing this with me.
Thank you, Papa. It's good to be here.
So, Kofi, I know that you've been going through this number the entire week, but for our listeners especially, give us a breakdown of how many nurses we are talking about here. I think the tens of thousands or just a couple of hundred nurses that we're talking about for which the country had to come to a standstill. And possibly how much are we been dealing with in terms of money?
Well, it's interesting to note that the nursing structure of the country is in twofold. So you have those that belong to the GRNMA and then those on the private side. And when this issue actually started, we're trying to gauge the magnitude of the impact of the strike. And so almost every day we were sleeping on the website of GRNMA, and we realized that 2 days after we had a solid show on PM Express, and we had quoted a figure around over 40,000, which was on their website. They came the next day to actually update that figure, and that was when we got...
So prior to all this, the number we knew on their website was 40,000.
Was 40,000.
Nurses.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Which after the update, we realized that they were more than that number. And the number they put on their website was around 120,330 nurses.
That's 3 times the
exactly
number we thought it was.
Exactly. And we tried to do the math to understand their ratio or their proportion of the total number of nurses we have, and we've done the math, and we had gone through the program-based budget of the health ministry, and we realized that we had about over 170,000 nurses across the country, or registered, licensed in the country. And so that meant that GRNMA was holding about 70% of the nursing and midwives labor force that we had in the country.
That is almost the entire number.
Exactly.
70% is in school you would get a B or B plus.
Absolutely. So they were actually in the majority, and it was clear that per the numbers we were looking at, for every 10 nurses that you actually sample in the country, about 7 of them were on strike and just about 3 were at post. So that was the reality, or the problem that we were dealing with. And if people said it was biting, it was simply because with the numbers we have, one nurse serves about 600 patients per shift. And so that tells you that if 70% of them goes home, then it should tell you how many more patients those who will be on at post will take. Okay. So it was not just about numbers, but it painted a picture of the magnitude of the problem we were dealing with, and it was actually very, very enormous.
So Kofi, we'll go through the list of the conditions that we were asking for, and just briefly we'll do that. But we know that financially, we know that government had budgets for some of these things.
Yeah.
I mean, how much does it take for us to just cater for these conditions of service? Before you go through that, so we know that some of the conditions they were asking for. So, for instance, book and research allowance that government should give an approved rate to apply per year. Beneficiaries has to publish their research findings and apply same to teaching and learning. This wasn't for all nurses. This was for those in the schools, on the faculties. Again, they wanted a uniform allowance, payment of 1,000 Ghana cedis. 1,000 Ghana cedis for 100 and close to 70,000 nurses per year. That is a lot of money, Kofi. That's more than 1 million cedis.
It's
for uniform allowance.
Yeah.
So again, they were also asking for fuel allowance. Then they were asking for non-basic allowance. Again, this would be for all nurses, and it was 8% of their monthly basic salary for all nurses and midwives in the public sector. Again, on-call facilitation allowance, that would be 5% of the monthly basic salary. Nurses and midwives in the public sector who work in the understaffed facilities and are required to work beyond the normal 8-hour shift. Yeah. So nurses are required to work 8 hours, but they wanted an on-call facilitation allowance for those who are working in understaffed facilities. And then again, rural incentive allowance. And then also one controversial one, they wanted a 13th month allowance. Kofi, how much was all this possibly going to cost us, if you know?
Well, so we were trying to understand how much this will cost for government to implement, and then boom, we had the deputy finance minister who came to our rescue and then gave us the first indication of how much it could cost. And so he quoted a figure saying that will cost government in excess of 2 billion Ghana cedis. That simply meant that if government should go ahead to implement this in full, it had to look for some 167 million Ghana cedis every month to actually execute this, agreed terms that they had in 2024. But it wasn't just about that 2 billion. You need to look at it on a bigger scale, where this year, for instance, government had increased its compensation of employees budget. That's the budget that, wages and salaries that government hopes to pay to, workers. That's where you find it. They pegged that figure around 76 billion Ghana cedis, and they had already increased that by somewhere around, let's say, 17% compared to what was seen in 2024. So definitely, you could see that government was constrained just by looking at their compensation of employees budget or their wage bill for this year, which they saw it to be 76 billion Ghana cedis. Very, very high. If you do the math in dollars, that's about, let's say, roughly $7 billion. Let's put it like
shortly,
that.
It means that if government gives them 2 billion cedis, there could be an economic crisis.
Well, looking at the position we find ourselves in, the government had argued that already they are battling with big deficits, and they are trying to cut down on costs, be very fiscally disciplined and all of that. And so, simply put, the finance minister made it clear in the budget and in various interviews that he wasn't willing to do any form of expenditure that was outside of the budget. And so, since this did not find its way into the March budget that was read for this year, then they believed that it was outside of the budget. And so, if the nurses could wait, they could put it in the 2026 budget. So that was the argument of government.
Thank you very much, Kofi. I'm grateful. So you just heard by the numbers. How many nurses we are talking about? Well over 120,000 of them that were on strike. And this is just nurses. We are not talking about doctors bringing the other nurses from the other sectors. All of them combined, even mortuary workers who work within the health space. Must it always come to a strike even before government hears their complaints or hears their pleas and gives them exactly what will make them comfortable enough to make that sure that all of us are well? This conversation will not be done by just Kofi and I myself. We will be definitely having quite a number of people. I also want to hear from you who is really listening right now. 055-11-11997 055-11-11997. Send us a WhatsApp message if you are affected, what you make of this, and what you think could be the way forward. Do we always have to treat our health workers this way? Well, I have on the line Mavis Akoto. She's the General Secretary of Rotational Nurses and Midwives Association. Mavis, can you hear me? Hello, Mavis.
Yes, please. I can hear you.
Fantastic, Mavis. Thank you very much. Mavis is connecting with us. And also we have Hadi Mohammed Abdullah. He is a neurosurgeon with the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Hadi, can you hear me? Thank you for joining us. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes,
Hadi.
I can
Thank
hear
you
you.
very much. Now we also have Dr. Solomon Kwashi. He's the Secretary, Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists. Dr. Kwashi.
Very well, I can hear you. Good evening to our listeners and viewers.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kwashi, for joining us. Also, so that we can understand what the regular, for lack of a better word, regular nurses have to sacrifice every day. Whether with us, some nurses as well, not their leadership, who possibly may have the opportunity to travel to Geneva and to conferences internationally. Novinho Eleblu joins us as well. Novinho, can you hear me? Hello, Novinho. Okay. We'll definitely get Novinho to join us. Also, Prosper Kobe. Prosper, are you on?
Hello, yes, I can hear you. I'm here.
Okay, Novinho, thank you very much. Yes. Prosper, are you on now? Okay. We'll try together. So let's start the conversation.
Yes, Prosper is here. Good evening and good evening to our listeners.
Thank you very much, Prosper, for joining us. So, Hadi, I know that you've been very loud about how we've been treating the conditions of service of doctors. I'll definitely come to you to give us the breakdown from your perspective. But let us start from those that were definitely on strike. And let me ask just one question. Dr. Solomon Koshi, if you are with us. So, no, not you, but Mavis rather. Mavis, so 1,000 cities for a uniform every year? Really?
You made me laugh.
Yes, because I'm pretty sure for anybody that reads the conditions of service for which you are laying down your dues, it's one of the things that would definitely jump at them. Why do you need that so badly?
Okay. Once again, good evening, and then to our college viewers. Let me start by saying that some people in the country, let me say those in higher positions, on board positions, get these appointments, and then they are on boards. When they sit, they take sitting allowances. Some do take baton allowance. Some also do take belt allowance. So if we nurses should ask for uniform allowance, in our perspective, we think we deserve it. Why? Because you've employed me, and then as an employee, do I need to purchase my own uniform to come to work?
But I thought that's what everybody does.
Please, I'm not yet done. Let me finish, then you can come in.
Please do.
I own uniform. I buy scraps. I buy scrap boots. And I do buy belts as well. For instance, if I am in the labor ward and then a woman or a client comes for delivery, amniotic fluid can splash on me. At times, you have to soak it in a bleach. The stain will still be there. So do I need to go around with that thing, what should I say, with that uniform? Everybody? No. I remember when I think that was last year, I was in a bus going to work, and then in the car, there was one child who was sick. I was in uniform. The child was vomiting. Unfortunately, I was sitting right beside the child and then the mom. I wanted to give a helping hand, and then by the time I realized the vomiters was all over me, I had to call the workplace and tell them what has happened, and then go back to bath and then change into a mufti before I went back to work. So, my dear, I want to ask, if with this, if I take or I demand for a uniform allowance, please, is it bad?
Well, given the explanation you've given us, I don't think that is bad, because certainly I won't be allowing you to attend to me if you have stains all over your dress.
And I'm stinking as well.
Fantastic. Oh yes, definitely. I'll definitely do that. Thank you very much, Mavis. So let me go around the table and get everybody's. But because you have started with the rotational nurses, let me ask Prosper and Novinho. So let's ladies first. So Novinho, honestly, being brutally honest, what really do you have to give every day in order to make sure that the ordinary Ghanaian that comes to any of those public hospitals, even in private institutions, leaves smiling and healthy back again?
Good evening to you and my cherished listeners. With the question you just asked, it's very difficult, seriously. Sometimes we go to work, you are not happy, or you are even sick, but you need to put up a cheerful face and a healthy body to do what? To attend to anyone that comes to you. You get it? So as when they leave your facility, they would leave what? Healthy and cheerful. Some come not because they are really sick. Some are emotionally down. And not only the clients, but we have the relatives too. You know, I'm at the emergency unit. Some people bring their patients or their relatives. They rather look so depressed more than the patients they brought to the hospital. You get it? So you have to, no matter how you're feeling, you get it. That's why we always say, don't bring your problems from the house to the workplace, because our work is very crucial. The least mistake you do, you kill someone. The slightest mistake you do, you kill someone. So we always give our all. Whether you're sick, you're emotionally down, you just have to put up a smiling face and a healthy body or a healthy looking person. I'm not sure you would come to the hospital and see me sick and you want me to attend to you.
No, definitely not.
Would you?
No.
Yes. So we have all those things and then try to attend to the person so that the person would rather look happy and then go home.
So, Novino, I get the impression that you support the
relatives too.
Novino, I get the impression that you support the strike, then that this is the only way you will get your employers to understand that you have needs that you always shelve for their concern. And this time round, you just couldn't do that for them.
Oh, not I in person don't really support the strike. I felt we could have just been at work whilst our leaders, do the negotiations whilst we also work. You get it?
All right.
That was my view. Yeah, I didn't think the strike was an option.
All right, Novinho, yes, I'll come back to you. So, Prosper, are you with me?
Yes.
Yeah, Prosper Kobe is the district chair of the nurses at Kolebu. Prosper, do you share the same concerns that you've heard from Mavis and again from Novinho?
Yes, I want to first of all start with the uniform and the amount quoted there. First of all, I want to put on record that when we say uniform allowance, we are not only talking about a dress. Nurses' uniform actually starts with the head. You are supposed to be in a cap. If you observe carefully, you see nurses having something white and a green on the head. That is one. The earring you use is also prescribed. Then the third one is breast watch, which you are supposed to use when you are checking pulse and whatever vitals for your patient. Then the third one is the uniform itself. And then the fourth one is your shoe. All these items are prescribed by the employer. And so when we are talking about uniform allowance, we are not only talking about buying a cloth and sewing it, but we are looking at all these items. And remember, you cannot sew one and use it the whole year. You may have to get at least 2 of these items. And so when you calculate, when you calculate all these 5 times 2, you realize that even the 1,000 is not enough for me to sew my top and down, another top and down, and then 2 shoes. Then you're talking about the breast watch, and then the earring specifically, and then the cap. You realize that the 1,000 cedis is not enough. So in the negotiation, you realize that
you mean 1,000 cedis is not enough amount. But these are not items you buy every year. It's a watch that you can use possibly your entire lifetime as a nurse. You don't need money to buy it every year.
That is not true. That is not true. You cannot use breast watch your entire life. That is not true.
Possibly maybe that is where maybe we should all be looking at that. Maybe we should procure long-lasting watches, or some of these items should be long-lasting. Maybe the uniform I can understand, but Prosper, I'll definitely give you more time to explain yourself.
Yes,
Dr. Solomon Kwashi.
Let me touch on the other side.
Okay, wrap up quickly. Then I'll go to Dr. Solomon Kwashi. Prosper, wrap up for me so that we can talk to Dr. Solomon Kwashi.
Okay. So to put a smile in the face of a Ghanaian public when they come to our facilities, there are 3 main things that are very important. The first one is the knowledge. You see, you have to get the required knowledge about what you are doing, which requires that you should first of all get your qualification and also get continuous professional development trainings. That you have the knowledge about what you are doing. The second one has to do with the skills. This has to do with the number of times you practice that particular act. That will give you the required skills to be able to perform and perform well to the satisfaction of your patient. And then the third one has to do with the sound mind you come to work with. And for you to get this sound mind, you should have at least the basic needs. If you don't have a place to sleep and you are patching with friends, how can you have a sound mind? If your daughter, your son is sick and you cannot pay the bills, meanwhile you are working in a hospital, how do you have a sound mind to work? So when you have the knowledge, you have the skills, and you have a sound mind, then you can actually give to the public what you have. You cannot give to the public what you don't have. So you yourself must be smiling to be able to make your client smile.
Thank you.
So that is what I can say about that.
All right, Prosper. Thank you. So, Dr. Kwashi, medical lab scientists. Last year, I think you had a similar situation with government, months, weeks of protracted strike. Then eventually, government had to cave in and then give you your demand. Is it the general feeling in the health sector that government is not taking you as seriously as it needs to?
All right. Thank you very much to our listeners and viewers. I just want to recognize the Medical Laboratory Professional Workers Union, which is our health union for medical laboratory scientists in Ghana. Now, medical laboratory scientists are one of the many important health professionals in Ghana, and we share and sympathize with the nurses for what they've taken us through throughout the past weeks.
Because you've mentioned it, what did they take you through?
It is not pleasant to see your fellow Ghanaian seek care and will not get the care. But we put this at the doorstep of the employer, who is to ensure that the health worker is well catered for. As Riley said, you have to be happy. You have to be seen as somebody whose welfare is well protected to also give the care to the others. So we sympathize with them. Last year, our union also embarked on a similar situation, drumming home similar conditions of service. And it is sad that as health workers who care for people, the employer doesn't care for us as it should be, which is very alarming.
I mean, why do you think they don't care for you? Because I'm seeing government, I mean, this particular government have said that they have cut the expenses, they have cut everything. You heard from the data as well. They have increased how much they spend in salaries. Beginning of the year, you got a renegotiation of your basic salary across board for all workers in government. I mean, from outside, I see that this is a government, or possibly government cares.
We sympathize with government. However, we still believe that government can do more. We are all in this economy, and I think we buy from the same markets as you also buy from the same markets. You've seen the situation of the exchange rate. You've seen the economy not supporting quality of life. And so what we are just saying is that for us to have that peace of mind to cater for the sick, we need to be comfortable. Let me just draw your attention to one important fact. Aside one health professional group in Ghana, our market premium have been pegged on our 2012 salary up to today. So we are taking market premium on 2012 salary, which is not realistic.
How much is that, if you kindly share with us?
I cannot disclose that. It is a percentage of our salary. And these are all issues about conditions of service in the health sector. So if I'm supposed to take a market premium of about 58% of my basic salary, and this has been pegged on 2012 salary up to now for years, and you expect me to be happy, take care of the sick, then you are joking. This is serious, and this is what we are talking about. We are seen as people who are comfortable, who should have that peace of mind to take care of the sick. But the reality is that we ourselves are stressed up. We are not able to take care of our kids and our expenses very well.
Wow. Okay. Dr. Kwashi, thank you very much. But let me bring in Dr. Hadi Mohammed Abdullah. He's a neurosurgeon at Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Doc, I hear from all of these people, more often than not, all the things that they do feed into the final person who sits on top of the food chain, the doctors themselves. And I get the impression that you possibly not complain about conditions of service because you are probably the Last person government wants to ever hear that you are going on strike, and they barely take days to see that your concerns are addressed. I don't think you share in the complaints and the concerns of the general health worker.
Well, good evening to our listeners, and then I'm sure you're also on Facebook, so to our viewers. Um, I don't think doctors sit at the top of the food chain. If you take the Ministry of Health, you see, I mean, we have the minister, the director general, we have CEOs of the hospitals. So they sit at the top, and their conditions of service are totally different from what medical doctors, including a neurosurgeon like me, where in most systems, we usually would have been at the top. For example, in the US, neurosurgeons, interventional radiologists are well paid. Unfortunately, we don't have that system in Ghana, but we don't have a blanket salary for all specialists elsewhere. And I must also correct you that doctors also go on strike, and doctors have been on strike for 2 weeks, three weeks, or even in months. So we have that historically to also show.
Dr. Hardy, is there a reason that strike is now becoming the order of the day, or say the nutritious meal that health workers must eat every day?
I don't think so. If you look at our history, healthcare workers have always gone on strike. I think that over the last couple of years, actually the frequency of the strikes have actually gone down. In the past, most of the strike action of doctors was led by junior doctors, okay, who tend to go on strike. Somehow, that particular group, which used to be very formidable, has been disintegrated by the system that has been put in place. So now, even if doctors are going on strike, it will be the Ghana Medical Association. But doctors have concern. Recently, you heard about some 35 doctors being given tax waivers to clear their vehicles. That was in the condition of service of doctors. But unfortunately, doctors imported their vehicles and they couldn't clear it. In the past, this wanton disregard for conditions of service that have agreed, sign on, and somehow have been implemented would have led to strike action by doctors. During the era of the last government, we had some part of our conditions of service that the government blatantly ignored. They never implemented it, but we did not declare a strike action, you know. And as someone who has led junior doctors and postgraduate doctors over the years, and I must say that I have led strike actions before. You know, as you grow, you begin to understand our society. I completed medical school in an era where we started postgraduate training in Ghana, and a lot of us actually stayed to have our postgraduate here. But on hindsight, I could see that even those who stayed, some of them are beginning to leave, because now we have some of our mates, people we sat in the same classroom with, who are in politics. And there's a growing number. If you look at last year, we had a lot of doctors actually contesting the primaries of some political parties and actually getting to be elected. And we see the difference. As a neurosurgeon, my family hardly sees me. I hardly engage in social activities at home. I've lost a lot of friends. But when it comes to, for example, the bench, our judges. Some of these arguments are actually posited to justify why judges, for example, should have certain conditions of service and retire on their salaries. But when it comes to people in my group who lose their friends, you even lose your families sometimes. And it takes a lot of sacrifice to work, for example, as a neurosurgeon in Ghana. So it has come to the stage that now it is not just the junior doctors who are leaving, who feel that the conditions are not good enough, but even specialists who have 10 years to retire are moving out of these countries with their families. This never existed in the past. It was always medical students in their final years who would always discuss that we want to travel out of this country. And if you look at the conditions of service that some of the nurses were looking for, and you juxtapose it to some CEOs of SOEs in this country.
But Dr. Hardy, is that not a difference? Is that not a difference? You are talking about CEOs and possibly a nurse in that same institution would possibly be a regular staff.
If you allow me, let me just make that point.
Okay.
I'm building a point.
Okay.
Now, the salaries of some of these nurses is actually allowance for gardeners or house girls of some of these SOE. And these people are being paid from our salaries. They are government institutions. And look at the way the nurses explain to you the conditions under which they have to work, such that one person has security allowance, has gardener's allowance, which can actually pay the salaries of nurses. Okay, so, and now we have a strong pull factor, not just from the US, not from UK alone, but even the Gulf countries. They are offering better conditions of service for these nurses. I'm sure you know the number of nurses, for example, who left this country as of 2023.
I prefer not to bother my head with it because I'll cry.
We are beginning to see the same with medical doctors, and as I said, not just medical officers, but consultant, senior specialists, especially couple consultant. This has never happened before, and I'm sure as the discussion progresses, I will give you the particular reasons why people are beginning to leave. One of them has to do with the future of their children.
Yes, Dr. Hardy, I'll definitely give you the opportunity to do that. We have 30 minutes to leave then. I'll just go around. And the last point that you made, whether the reaction from government and how they usually bite back when any of these institutions decides to go on a strike, it's creating a fertile soil for them to consider possibly joining their friends and the stories they've heard of their friends who went overseas and possibly are getting it better. Let me start with Novinho. Novinho, I said, nurse working in Ghana, I'm hearing that you have to fight tooth and nail to get something as simple as these conditions of service agreed by government. Already they've signed this. They're only left to implement it. Vis-a-vis your colleagues who have traveled, is this, in the 1 week you were not at work, is this something that crossed your mind ever, Novinho?
Yes, actually. Because with my friends outside, when you speak with them, they tell you how the salary is, the insurances they get, and all that. So, as a health worker like me here in Ghana, which I don't enjoy those things, I would equally feel like going there so that I can also enjoy that. You see, like let me give a scenario. Like not really a scenario, something that happened. I was attending to a patient who came. She had a cat, so I had to suit her. So along the line, when I was doing in the process, I had a prick. So imagine if that patient was having Hep B or HIV was positive for any of that. Automatically, I would have done what? I would have gotten infected. And I'm not sure there's any insurance package for that. There's nothing like risk allowance for we the nurses. So yes, if I happen to have the opportunity and speaking to my friends there, yeah, I would go.
Please don't go. Please do. I'm glad that you don't have the means to go yet. I'm really glad because even 120,000 nurses in the country is far way below what we should have for a country with 31 million people living in it. Prosper, are you contemplating same? I mean, if you hear that you have to beg for uniform allowance, like this should be the easiest thing anybody should be able to provide for you.
Yes, that is true, especially when the employer is the one defining what you should wear. Then we should not struggle to get what we need to sew the uniform. And so looking at how we are being paid as nurses in Ghana, the conditions under which we work, and also the logistical challenges. For instance, you are a nurse, a senior officer for that matter, you get to work and you work as oddly because there is no oxygen. A patient is gasping, and this nurse in white will have to move to the gas plant to go and push oxygen. If you want to consider those things, then obviously we are all going to leave this country sooner or later.
Again,
the other part of our challenge has to do with the career progression. If you look at our system, you go to school and they tell you because there is no approval, they are not giving you promotion. Meanwhile, you spend the money and you have acquired knowledge and skills that you are adding to the healthcare delivery. But they're telling you because there's no approval, we are not going to upgrade you. And so if we want to consider all this, I can assure you we are all leaving soon. Thank you.
I'm glad again you don't have the means to leave, and nobody's convinced you enough to leave. So Mavis, rotational nurses, right? The concern is, okay, so how do we change the narrative? How do we get your concerns taken as seriously as you make it sound today on radio?
Thank you very much once again. To be honest with you, when it comes to rotational nurses and midwives, it's like, I don't want to use certain words, but it's so disheartening. It's so disheartening because as a rotational nurse, as I am here, I've been working for a whole year now. Not even financial clearance. As if I am a magician to just do some things for me to get money to cater for my transport, my feeding, and then let me say my accommodation to wherever that I've been posted to. You don't get a chance to tell your employer that you want to be posted near where your family member is. No. But rather, you will be sent to various places that you don't know anybody there. In the first place, you have to rent, get something to put your head on, buy a whole lot of stuff so that you can feel comfortable at the place that you are working at. And then for you to work a year, afterwards, at times 6 months, 7 months, that's when your allowance is being paid. This allowance is not even up to 1,000 cedis, my dear.
Maybe it's for the sake of time. Please, can you do it quickly for me? I beg you.
It's not even up to 1,000 cedis. So to me, as my other seniors have said, to me, there is nothing that will stop me if I get an invitation that maybe scam. My dear, I will japa. I will.
Maybe nobody's going to invite you. Nobody's going to invite you.
Please, Prosper, can you please go and then give me the invite?
I'm stopping Prosper at the airport. Prosper, you are stopped at the airport. So, I mean, because of what you said, right? I just said a message that says that, well, maybe if all our ministers and the top people at the top are from the health space, maybe they will understand what we are dealing with. And that brings us to the comments that some of you have been sharing with us on our WhatsApp console. and Collins Frimpong joins me in the studio with some of those. He's been harvesting them, and I'm sure that the council has been buzzing because of the conversation. Quickly walk us through what exactly we have.
Number of messages, and the first one is from Frederick from Lakeside Estate, and he says the Ghanaian nurses deserve better. Their colleagues have left for abroad and getting better paid in better facilities. How can we quantify the sacrifices they make? And also this one too is from Sherry Giovanni from the Volta region, and says that I think it is about time politicians take workers serious in this country. They allocate to themselves a lot of privileges, fat salaries and unreasonable allowances. They enjoy inconvenience allowances, reading glasses allowance, wardrobe allowance, among other ridiculous ones. Teachers and nurses and midwives must rise up against these people. And also last one from Prince in Cape Coast says that I would like to call on the health minister that once they are able to get nurses and midwives back to work, which they've been able to do, we must initiate a serious national conversation about the sustainability and relevance of the trainee allowance policy. The nurses and midwives have shown that they are willing to go to the extreme length, even at risk of human life, to demand what they think they deserve.
Thank you very much, Colin. So this is what you've been sharing with us throughout. Messages are a lot, but unfortunately we're able to take all of them, and I'm grateful to you for sending those through. But let me wrap up with Dr. Hadi and then Dr. Kwashi. Gentlemen, so how do we turn around the situation? How do we get your concerns to the front burner and prioritize as much as it must and get you all that it takes to be comfortable so that we are all comfortable? At least we know that from the mortuaries, the place was nearly full or almost full during just 1 week of strike by nurses alone. And by saying that doctors could be working, the other people could be working, but the morgues were still full. Dr. Hadi, Dr. Kwashi, let me start with you. How do we turn this around and get your concerns to the front burner?
So, governments are run by politicians. But we have to depoliticize issues of conditions of service, issues of wages, and the rest. What we've realized in the past is that the institutions of government are used as political tools to frustrate workers, especially the Fair Wages and Salaries Commission, some institutions within the Ministry of Health. We should not wait for people to strike or agitate before we listen to them. On regular basis, we need to find out their needs. We need to find out whether the conditions and how we can even influence their attitude towards work. Government is always preaching professionalism, but professionalism is driven by so many other things. So the time is up for government not to play politics with the worker. When we do that, the worker will be empowered to also play politics with government. And so what we are suggesting is that besides government really looking at the wage policy, we are not happy about the wage policy of especially medical laboratory scientists in Ghana and our space salaries. Government should look at it and see how we can better it. We still insist that the 2012 market premium is not enough. It should be moved upwards as done for others. Our equipment we work with, our schedules, our workload should be commensurate with the work activities. And so for us, we have a lot of our colleagues who are at home, qualified, licensed, but are not employed by government. And for a long time, government has discriminated against our profession. We are not happy about this. We don't want a situation where we'll rise up and the public will be at a disadvantage.
Please, we beg.
Government should be transparent with us. There should be predictability. We should not wait. We should predict that this can happen, and let's wake up and solve it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kwashi. So, Dr. Hadi, you have the final 2 minutes. How do we turn all of this around and make sure that you are the most prioritized? I mean, your sector. And then again, it doesn't always have to come to a strike where people lose their lives and the much needed medications and the care, they don't get them.
Thank you. I mean, I think, first of all stakeholders, including the politicians and then we, the healthcare workers, must remember that we have a nation to build, right? That we have a nation to build. We need to always think about Ghana first. Secondly, I'm also excited by what the president said, that they will look to bridge this gap between, let me say, the politicians, some of these employees of the SOEs, and the general public. For many doctors, one of the things that will pull them out of this country has to do with postgraduate training and appreciation. And I want us to make sure that our postgraduate training for healthcare workers, we strengthen it and make sure that healthcare workers are provided with the necessary tools to work with. Sometimes, even when you don't have enough resources for your family, the fact that you could go to work and you have good infrastructure, good equipment to work with, your patients you treat could come out of surgery and get cured. Those are some of the things that will make you happy.
Okay.
It's not necessarily how much you are being paid, but the politicians, the judiciary, they should always remember that we have a nation to build. It is only one country we have, which is Ghana.
All right. I'm grateful to you, Dr. Hadi Mohammed Abdullah. He's a neurosurgeon with the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. I'm grateful to you all. Maybe Sakotoshi is the General Secretary, Rotational Nurses and Midwives Association, for joining us. Also, Dr. Solomon Kwashi, Secretary, Ghana Association of Medical Laboratory Scientists. And also to Novinho Ella Blue, nurse, who joined us, and also finally to Prosper Kobi. He's the district chair at the Kolebu for all the nurses there. I'm grateful to you all for joining us. This has been Ghana Connect. My name is Michael Asharley. Definitely be back again next week to have another beautiful conversation. Stay tuned. There's more right here on Joy FM. Don't go anywhere.
Ghana ICT